Spec Ops: The Line left me with a feeling I can only describe as being haunted. It tells one of the best stories in gaming, partnered with great writing and excellent voice acting. For as gut-wrenching and thought-provoking its story is, it not only shows and discusses the effects of war crimes, it makes you partake in them as well, which is something only a medium like video games can portray. And no aspect of the game does this more than the white phosphorus scene. For those of you that don't know, white phosphorus is a chemical used by the industrial military complex to make things like tracer ammo and incendiary rounds. Its smoke, which is highly toxic, can also be harnessed to use for smoke bombs. I don't know how realistic of a portrayal it is here, but in Spec Ops, it's treated like napalm, getting dumped, sprayed, and shot at people only for them to burn alive. You get shown its capabilities a little bit before the big scene. Being on my fresh playthrough, I had assumed this was just done to show you how bad the 33rd, the game's enemy faction, was, since you see them just pouring this stuff on a bunch of the civilian rebels. And it does do that. It does, but it acts as something even more vile. It acts as foreshadowing. For not that much further in the game, you turn the tables on them and use it on the 33rd yourself. Now let me set the scene. You reach an enemy encampment, severely outnumbered and outgunned. One of your teammates notices a mortar. Walker, the main character, decides they're going to let it loose on them. A taste of payback laced with irony. Tensions between Walker and his team were already running high before this, so some arguing ensues. After all, it's not that long ago that you saw what this stuff does. But it gets cut short, and the mortar camera system is shot up into the air, alerting the camp. Your view is looking at a computer hooked up through a camera. You're looking down at the enemy camp in black and white with a red square outlining your current target, much like the AC-130 mission in COD 4. Time for a super badass player empowerment section, right? Well, at first it is. The enemy starts shooting at you, causing you damage, so you get all worked up and start raining fire on them. Then eventually your teammates start pointing out vehicles, guys with RPGs, and they need to be taken out ASAP, right? It's just self-defense. They're the ones harming and killing civilians and need to be stopped. The 33rd used this stuff, so why shouldn't it be used on them? After all, we're the good guys, right? Right. These are the thoughts going on in the back of my head while I'm playing through this section. And I'm sure the developers put a lot of time and care in making sure that that happens to as many people as possible. The 33rd shows up as white figures, and you just point and shoot. Pretty much like every other section in the game. Except now, the longer you do it, there's way more emotional weight behind it. Because in the back of your head, you know exactly what you're doing to them. You just don't see it. At least not yet. Eventually, the screen on the laptop starts turning darker and darker the more you kill, revealing Walker's face in it, exactly how it happens when you've seen your own reflection in your TV or monitor during a loading screen. Then, you wipe them all out. Now, to move forward and complete the mission, you need to head straight through the camp and face the carnage you just created head on. Everything's on fire. Soldiers are running and crawling and screaming in pain, pleading for help, but Walker just says to keep moving forward, and so you do, determined to complete the mission. Till they reach a soldier with his face melted off. Talk to him a bit. He says they're just trying to save people. Confused, Walker gets up, turns the corner, and that's when you realize you fucked up horribly. Before you lies the charred remains of 40-something civilians, and in the middle of just this pile of corpses is a woman holding her child. You can clearly see that they're melted into each other, and the mother's missing half her face. In any other big-budget war game franchise, a scene like this would just come off feeling like super edgy and have no real message or emotional weight behind it. But here it works. You feel like the monster you are. This scene says and represents so much about violence in video games, in media, and real life. And it's certainly intentional, especially given the fact that later on, the character blames all the violence in Spec Ops on video games. Pretty meta, right? Take a moment to think about how much of this plays out in real life without us ever knowing. And if we do know, it's usually because we're hearing about it after it's been regurgitated 52 times through some sort of screen. Not only is this game probably have more messages than almost any other game I've played, it also has the most thought-provoking ones. But war and violence aren't the only themes this game touches base on. Another central one is mental health. Unlike Hellblade, which depicts symptoms of mental diseases and disorders, eventually leading to knowledge of how to spot them, understanding what it's like to have them. Spec Ops: The Line offers a more horrifying approach. See, this game deals more so with the damage that can be done as a result of unchecked, deteriorating mental health. So many different aspects of this game turn and change on themselves constantly to convey this concept. I don't want to get that much more into spoiler territory here, considering that this video is already pretty spoiler heavy, but just say, as much stuff changes, this concept of deteriorating mental health is portrayed wonderfully. Or at least as wonderfully as it can be, considering the grim, gruesome subject matter. The last of this game's themes that I want to touch on is the theme of choice, or perhaps more accurately, the illusion of it. Throughout the story, the player is given multiple choices, like a lot of other modern games. Telltale. However, unlike most other modern games, there's no button prompts, no obviously good choice, bad choice. Every choice is made in real time, and if you don't act quick enough, it's made for you. And they fit in the realm of the morally gray, and will continue to twist and turn on you as the story progresses. That being said, in the end, none of your previous choices really factor into the story all that much, which sounds bad, but done for plot reasons that end up working really well. And again, I don't want to ruin and get into it too much, but it works really fucking well, and goes back into the whole theme of choice. Finishing the story made me realize that while it's true, there may always be a choice, and no matter how big, how many different choices you can have, just because you have multiple options doesn't mean any of them are really good. Now on the other aspects of the game, what do I think? The way some encounters will be set up to use sand to aid during a firefight is honestly ingenious, but it's underused, and most of it is more of a set piece than just like an option at your disposal. The game looks great for being close to a decade old, and it feels like they made it as colorful and vibrant as possible while still holding on to a realistic vision of Dubai. The other elements of the game fall pretty flat though, namely the clunky controls and the generic super dated gameplay, and the AI is pretty horrendous, and I ran into a few glitches. But if you're the type of person that can look past those lacking aspects of the game, I highly recommend it, especially if you play it on like easy or normal. This game is the perfect representation of the phrase diamond in the rough, and what a horrifying shiny diamond it truly is. For when I stared into the abyssal darkness of this game, it stared right back at my own soul.